Hi.
There we
Thank you, Claudia. Thank you. And welcome everybody to your training this evening, to your webinar. Um, Before we go any further, we just want to see who our audience are. So we're going to put on a, poll, and we're asking you, if you are watching this webinar, are you watching it for GCSE, studies, A levels, both, or other? And while you're doing that, I'll just introduce myself a little bit. I've been here at the BDA for about 2 years now, but before that, I worked in a secondary school as a Hilter and a specialist dyslexia tutor as well. Um, and I supported a lot of Year 11s who were dyslexic and had other needs as well through their GCSEs. So, yeah, so I've got quite a bit of experience in that during that time in 14 years. I wonder, have we got our result? Is that long enough? Okay, we've got 4% as A levels, 78% GCSEs. Obviously some parents out there that are listening for both, and that's 11%, and other is 7%. So welcome everybody. Um, of course, what this is all about is study skills for parents and carers and in the home. So I want to give you a brief understanding of dyslexia. And we'll look as well at behaviour at home and the importance of that parental support or the carer support. We'll also try and understand the emotional toil of the exams. We'll also look at some assistive technology that you might want to use at home and consider for revision, also some revision techniques and revision support at home before finally we'll have a Q&A. So let's try and understand dyslexia then. So there's around about 10% of our UK population who are diagnosed with dyslexia. It equates to around about 6.5 million people. It does affect both men and women, and there is a genetic link as well. So if you do suspect that your child could be dyslexic, have a look at the wider family tree. On that point, actually, there's probably up to maybe 20%. There are some studies to say there's up to 20% to say that there are a section of our society who class themselves as just having literacy difficulties and don't see themselves as dyslexic, and maybe they describe themselves as, I don't enjoy reading, or my spelling is rubbish. They could be some of our dyslexics who are undiagnosed. So dyslexics have three main areas of challenge. Excuse me, phonological awareness, if I can say it right, phonological awareness, get my teeth in, which is the understanding that spoken words are made up of sounds and recognizing how they come together to form words. The verbal memory is that memory that deals with that written word. It's the ability to remember information that's been presented verbally, and it might be a list of words or a conversation, or maybe a lesson or a lecture. And the verbal processing speed describes the fluency of that verbal response to information as well. So it's the ability to verbally recall information from their long-term memory. Um, so there's these three main areas. So your phonological awareness is mainly your literacy skills. Your verbal memory is your memory shelf, being able to hold on to as much memory as possible. Your processing speed is how fast your brain can find information. I always call it our filing cabinet of knowledge here behind our left ear. If you're left brain dominant, you can find that super fast. It's very much like driving down a motorway with no other cars. If you're right brain dominant, you have a longer journey to take, but it's not to say that you're not going to find it. It just takes a little bit of time to find that information in your filing cabinet. Uh, so these are the three main areas of challenge for dyslexics. Now, every dyslexic will be unique, and it will depend upon the environments that they live in. So either the environment within home, or the environment in the school, in their education. And it depends on how much of a multisensory way of teaching they've been exposed to, or not. And of course, the positive messages that we need to give these young people for them to have a feeling of self-worth. And of course, looking at other ways of being able to demonstrate their knowledge in formats other than writing, because sometimes writing is the hardest thing for them to do. Um, so the verbal memory is remembering, and the processing speed is the motorway versus the scenic route. So, looking at behaviour at home and the importance of parental support, or carers, so parents or carers. Um, and if we understand the layers of behaviour that's associated with dyslexia, we can help to address and manage these behaviours. And here are some layers that we need to consider. Ensuring that there's a relaxed environment. Home is generally a more relaxed setting where young adults feel more relaxed and less pressured, isn't it? But it should be. But it's not always, and it's not always anybody's fault. If the house is full with a large family, it can be understandable if they seek to have a quieter place to study. It might be that they decide to go to a library or a friend's house. It could be that they have an emotional outburst, and what that might be is because whilst they've been in school all day, they might have been holding it all together all day, and then they release their pent up frustration when they get at home where they know that it's a safe place, particularly with those who they love the most, who they're closest to, and they know that they can be themselves with. If you allow them time to decompress before giving them a barrage of questions about their day, sometimes that will help. And parental support. Parents and other family members can provide a real tailored support and encouragement. And what that will do is it'll build their, excuse me, their self-esteem and their resilience. And then assistive technology. So at home, there might be more opportunities to use assistive technology and other resources like that to support learning and the revision the most. And if you have that ability, get your learners or your other family members to help to create games as well. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. And then finally, all of this kind of behavior within the home, it's the root cause could be because they are dyslexic. Even if you think that they could be dyslexic and they've not had a diagnosis, all of these emotions could be because they're finding it particularly tough. And they have to put a lot more effort in than everybody else. And all of these emotions, the root cause could be because they are dyslexic. So the emotional toil of exams then. Living with dyslexia can indeed be emotionally challenging, but lots of learners with dyslexia experience a range of emotions, and they range from confusion and frustration to anxiety and low self-esteem. And here are some common emotional impacts. So think about confusion and bewilderment. Some of our dyslexic learners often feel confused when they struggle with tasks and it seems easy for everybody else to do. And it leads to these kind of feelings of frustration and self doubt. When I do my face to face training, then I always give them the audience an activity, and they understand it. The activity helps them to understand how it might feel if they're not able to decode as fluently as somebody else. And there's always somebody who can really read the task really quickly. And so it helps them to understand that frustration. When somebody else in the group can do something really, really easily, you might start to look at yourself and think, why am I not able to do that? And so it might lead to something like embarrassment and shame. Struggling with reading and writing can cause embarrassment because there's an assumption that when you arrive at secondary school, you should already have these basic skills. And if you don't have that basic skill as fluently as others, it can really evolve. It can evolve into shame. It can affect your self-esteem and lead to a sense of inadequacy. When really what we need to be saying is, okay, you might have a difficulty with that, let's find a way around it. Let's remove that boundary and find a different way and allow the individual to use technology, for example, to be able to read information the same as everybody else. Excuse me. It might lead to a lack of confidence. So the kind of things that you might hear your young people say is, I'm just not good at anything. And these repeated difficulties and setbacks can really erode their confidence. Dyslexic learners might doubt their abilities, impacting their performance in school. Um, and it's what we need to do is to try and shift that with the positive messages that we can give. And of course, the solutions. So, what you may notice is frustration and anger. This constant struggle can lead to frustration, which sometimes turns into anger, and the anger can be directed inwards, leading to self blame. Um, they might have anxiety and fear. Anxiety is a really common emotional response, especially if they're in a situation which involves reading and writing. Um, Particularly if they're not asked to volunteer, if they are singled out and asked to read aloud in front of other people, because they know that, or to write anything on the in the front of the classroom, because it might be that they know that that is something that they struggle with the most, and it can lead to avoidance behaviours. It might further impact their learning and social interactions as well. Um, and so, if you see these kind of behaviors within the classroom, just ask the young person when when you've got a quiet time with them, explain to me how it feels when I ask you to read or to write something in front of everybody else, and you might be able to get down to the root cause of that. Um, and of course, it could lead to despondency and depression. That persistent challenge and a sense of failure can lead to feelings of hopelessness and depression. However, it's really important to note that with that proper support and strategies, a lot of our learners with dyslexia can overcome these emotional challenges by building a supportive environment, by seeking help from professionals if needed, and focusing on the strengths, they can really foster their resilience and create a positive outlook. Which leads me quite nicely into building resilience and self esteem. So encourage a growth mindset. It's going to be one of the most stressful times in their young lives. And what we don't want to do is to erode any kind of self-worth or erode any confidence. And so what we need to be able to do is to celebrate the hard work and the progress they make rather than just the outcomes. So the effort that they make, not just the marks from a test. So I know from experience that some of my dyslexic learners at school, they would have the same kind of output as their peers. If they answered the same questions with the same marks and so on. But what I do know is that sometimes it would take them maybe 3 times longer than everybody else to be able to do that. And that can lead to exhaustion. And so celebrate the amount of effort really that they take to actually complete any of their assignments. Um, it's also important as well to reframe their failures. So teach them to view their mistakes as learning opportunities, and which is part of the growth process. Um, and this is all part of that metacognitive way of thinking, looking at what they've performed in maybe a test or an assignment, looking at what they were able to achieve and how did they get it right, looking at what they didn't achieve and how they got it wrong, and what can they change to make it right in the final exam. So, all of these mistakes is all part of the learning process. And it's important for our young dyslexics to understand that you can't always write something perfect the first time, which sometimes they try and put themselves under that pressure to do. That needs to go out of the window. They need to see that it's a process. Identify their unique abilities. Now, to help them recognize their strengths, it could be creativity, problem solving, it could be empathy, might be a very caring um, person. Um, so, looking at their strengths, if their strength isn't writing an essay for English, then so be it. And get them to focus on what they are good at, because they are just as important as those writing skills. So these kind of soft skills aren't measured in a GCSE exam or an A level exam, but they're still really crucial for adult life. So it's always important. That message should always be, equally important. And unfortunately, we just can't measure that in a GCSE result. And so give them that positive reinforcement. Regularly acknowledge and praise their achievements and their efforts. That word effort is so important to acknowledge, because I know from experience in the school, and you probably have seen it yourselves at home, the amount of time it takes for your child to be able to have the same kind of output as somebody else takes a lot more effort. So lots of positive thoughts on what they have achieved, and it's all in small steps, and eventually they will get there if they just keep going. Um, And I've got the wrong words here. Sorry about that. It should say open communication. Encourage your children to express their feelings and concerns. Be a really good listener and provide reassurance. So when they do need to offload, make sure that they have somebody that they are able to offload to, and that they are understood with, and possibly provide some reassurance that everything that they're doing is correct, and they will be able to achieve what they can achieve within their GCSEs with all of the support that they ask for as well. And create a supportive environment as well. Making home a safe space where they can relax and they can recharge is really important. This is a real big holistic um, canvas of helping them to get through a very, very stressful time in their lives. Right, assistive technology then. So, if you've not already used it, try and introduce your young person to assistive technologies like speech to text or text to speech, which will make studying easier. If you are a Microsoft-based a family, then you will have the dictate function in all of the apps like Word um, or PowerPoint or anything like that that your young person is using. So they can just talk to the computer, and the computer will write down and transcribe what it is that they're saying. Now, it's a real skill to be able to talk in the sentences that you need to for your writing. And of course, it's not 100% accurate. You will need to go back and edit it before the final piece. But the important thing is the young person can listen to it back. You can have it read aloud and listen to it back to find the errors rather than having to read it, which can be laborious for them. So yeah, Google as well also have their Google Docs also have a dictate and a read aloud function. So use those to the maximum if you can, just to take the burden away from having to do the writing all of the time. And of course, if that is their normal way of working and they use it in their school environment as well, in their classes, they should be able to use that as an access arrangement in their final exam as well. So the earlier that you're able to use that, particularly in year 10, get them used to using that. Make sure that they have time to practice, because it will make all the difference to be able to demonstrate their knowledge verbally rather than in the written form. It will really help them be put on equal playing field. Um, organizational apps as well. Find an app that really helps with their time management and organization to help to reduce the stress. Organization is one of the things that some dyslexics really struggle with. And it's because their executive functioning, the short-term memory is overloaded so much that they can't use their executive functioning skills efficiently. So however your young person feels is the most useful to them, it might be that they use a hardback diary. It might be that they prefer to download an app to help them digitize their day. It might be that they prefer to use a wall planner so they can have an aerial view of everything that they are doing. So it might be that they put in their revision timetable, their school timetable, their commitments timetable, and then their free time timetable as well, just so that they can see everything. That aerial view sometimes can be really helpful for them. Um, to input it, they may need some help to make sure that they have the correct date, particularly for a digital one, making sure that they have reminders of what they should be doing on what particular time of day. And encourage independence as well. Teach them to advocate for their own needs and seek help when necessary. So that means saying to teachers, I really could do with speech to text. I find it so much easier to tell you my knowledge rather than having to write it down. Or it might be, can if you let me listen to the lesson, I will really be able to understand it a lot easier. So send me a podcast of the information, and that is really easy at this day and age using AI. Um, so, however they feel is good for them, however they feel that they learn the easiest, try and encourage them to communicate that to everybody, to their teachers, to the exams officer as well, but also to their peers as well. They may have a study buddy who also prefers to revise in the same format that they do, and so they might be able to help each other. And of course, helping them to build confidence with themselves, understanding their own learning style and how to communicate it to others, is going to be really helpful to improve their self advocacy. Um, having it Having them to be independent, it's part of growing up, and it will be scary to start with, but they would really gain confidence if they're able to, confidently tell their teachers how it's the best way for them to learn. And of course, we all need time off at some point. Mindfulness and relaxation, introducing these kind of exercises like deep breathing, or it might be some kind of other relaxation technique. It might be yoga, for example, to help to manage that exam anxiety. Um, that needs to be planned into the revision timetable as well. And of course, healthy routines. If you encourage them to regular physical activity, it might just be having a walk around the block, healthy eating, enough sleep to maintain overall well-being is also really important to be able to get through the exams. So, excuse me. Um, so healthy eating, excuse me, forgive me, I'm sorry. Yes, so a regular physical activity, healthy eating, and sufficient sleep is really going to help them to get through this this really busy time in their life, and also we're also through all of their exams as well. And break down tasks as well. Help them set achievable goals, and it might be you do a week by week view and sit with them and go through everything that they've been able to achieve, look at something that if they've missed something out, break down these large tasks into smaller manageable steps. And when they have been able to do that, celebrate the small wins, recognize and celebrate any small achievements along the way. And it helps to build the confidence. It makes them feel like they're actually achieving something. And then by the time they get to their exam, that mental state will be so much more positive. Then they can say to the exam, I'm ready for you. Come on, bring it on. Let's go. And if you implement these kinds of strategies, it can really help our dyslexic learners build their resilience, their self esteem. It helps them to be really better equipped to handle that pressure of the exams. So let's have a look at the kind of assistive technology that you might want to use at home. So, note taking and mind mapping software. You'll need to be careful if you're able to take these into school or not. If you have a computer of your own, or if the school is able to allow you to use theirs to have it uploaded. I know particularly for FE and HE, it's a lot easier for them. I think sometimes secondary schools are a little bit more stricter. But mind mapping software and digital notebooks can be really, really useful. So, what mind mapping software does is it allows the user to dump everything that is out of their head onto the page in small chunks. And the beauty of that is you can do it in any order. So, if you're thinking of a really good, fine, conclusion, write that down first. And all the bits in between can come at different stages. Once your head is empty, you can reorder your mind map, and then at a click of a button, you can export it as a text. Conversely, if you are given a huge text, you can import it as a mind map so they can see that aerial view. There's a few that's out there on the market. There's one in particular that I know of called Inspiration. That's really good. Um, Digital notebooks, what they do is they listen to the lesson and they take voice clips and match it to a presentation that can be imported. So let's say they are in a geography lesson, for example. They are sat in front of the computer, in front of the teacher is talking, the software listens, and it also they can take their own notes, but it will also summarize it at the end of the lesson. So when it stops, it'll summarize the whole lesson for them. And so that burden of having to take notes and listen at the same time gets taken away. So these kind of digital notebooks are available. There's also like listening pens that you can, the pen will listen and take notes at the same time, and then it downloads to a computer app. So there's lots of technology out there. There's one the digital notebook software that I know of is called Glean. There's one called Captioned, another one called Evernote, um, and there's a live scribe pen that's a listening pen as well. So all of these different kind of gadgets are really useful for revision, particularly. And then we've got text to speech or speech to text. Most of well, I know that a lot of the software is integral to that because it has to be accessible these days. So with text to speech, you literally talk to the laptop or the gadget and it will transcribe it for you. Speech to text is the opposite way around. So it will read aloud the text that is digital on the computer. By listening, they're able to process the information a lot easier. Um, so um, Pomodoro timers, they apps like Focus Booster and maybe a Tomato timer help to manage study sessions using the Pomodoro technique, which involves working in short and focused bursts with breaks in between. So it might be, you put on a 15-minute timer and then a 5-minute timer. So you go away and do something completely different. Um, empty the dishwasher, go and kick a ball around, anything like that, and then go back. And that break will really help to reboot the brain. So these kind of task management apps can be really useful. Tools like Todoist and Trello help to keep track of assignments and deadlines as well. So this is very much like a digital planner. You input the deadline, and it'll give you a bit of a countdown on when that needs to be completed. Microsoft To Do is a free one as well that you can use if you've got Microsoft 365. I don't think you need to pay any extra for that one. Screen readers and magnification tools as well. So software like SS Overlay or Color Veil, if you're using a computer, excuse me, they help to read through a color tint. Those two are free. There are different ones. There's a one that you can buy called Tint and Track. There are others on the market that I can't think off the top of my head. But they will help you to read through a tint. And of course, if you're using a handheld device, very often you can magnify the screen to help you with seeing the text a little bit easier. And then don't forget our voice activated assistants. I'm sure many of you know about Alexa or Hey Google or Siri. There's lots and lots of them now that are voice activated to help to take a shortcut, like setting reminders, helping you to how to spell a word, and it makes it easier for you to manage your study environment as well. So it might be you want Alexa to remind you to it's time to take a break. Go and take a break for 5 minutes and then come back. Those kind of voice activated assistants can be really helpful to keep you on track. Okay, let's have a look at some revision techniques. So it is daunting to revise, and sometimes some of our GCSE learners have an excess of 9 subjects sometimes to revise. It can be really daunting to know how to even to begin. So a good revision timetable will really break down the whole process into manageable bite-sized chunks. For a lot of learners, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the sheer size of the task and to just give in at any point. And so devising a timetable is really important. It's an important part of the strategy to help to assist the revision. And of course, it's very true, isn't it? How do you eat an elephant? Well, it's just one bite at a time, and it's exactly the same. How on earth do I revise all of these different subjects, just one topic at a time? So make sure that time slots are short and realistic. It's better to work hard for 15 minutes and spend than to spend 2 hours learning very little. So short, frequent bursts of learning activity is the real key to success here. And the average attention span for somebody is likely to be in about 15 to 20 minutes. So after this, they need to engage in something else to be able to reboot the brain, to give them that brain break. So make a revision plan. Don't forget the easy topics, and a quick revision will only be necessary. But what I want you to do is to color code each subject that you have to revise. List the topics within that subject, and each topic grade it 1 to 5. Easy is 1, all the way up to hard, which is 5. And then order the topics that you need to revise. Obviously, you've got to have 5 times more than the easy ones if it's a hard topic, so that you've got that opportunity for overlearning. Once you've decided which topics that you need and which ones are easy and which ones are hard, plot them in the dates in your planner and the exam dates. Now, if you're in year 10, you're going to need maybe two wall planners or 2 diaries so that you can really plan ahead. But if you are in year 11, you need to be able to plan up to when your exam is scheduled. Plot the subjects into the topic in your planner in the order that you feel is the most hardest and the easiest. Don't forget the easy ones though, because you still need to revisit them at least once. Don't forget your ongoing commitments. It might be that you are a carer. It might be you have to go and pick up your little sister from school. It might be that you have to take the dog for a walk. Anything, any commitments also need to be factored into that. Um, Consider what is the best time of day for you to work. If it's in the mornings, try and think about the weekend mornings, or if you've got time in your study schedule to put it in there. But also remember to include rest breaks as well. We all need to decompress at some point, and remember to put those rest breaks in there as well. Right, if you are an auditory learner, these might be the best ways for you to learn. So, record yourself summarizing key points and listen to them during, it might be when you're driving on the bus, riding on the bus to school, or it might be you're doing a chore, it might be you're taking the dog for a walk, anything at all. If you don't want to listen to yourself, ask either a study buddy or your teachers to record the important points, and then you can listen to them as many times as you need to. There are lots of educational podcasts, particularly BBC Bite Size. They do a lot of podcasts as well. Find them that are related to your subjects and listen to them regularly. YouTube, watching other people playing games on YouTube, that goes to one time for now. You can return to that after your exams are finished. Just for these few months, it's really important to get rid of any other distractions, and listen to podcasts, or other people talking about the topics that you need to learn over and over again, is really important right now. And of course, group discussions. Get together with your study buddies or your friends and your family to reinforce your understanding through conversation. Um, Trying to teach somebody else the what it is that you have learned, or something that you're revising, is a real benefit for your understanding, because what they'll do is they'll ask questions, and if you're able to answer them, you know that you've absolutely smashed it. Okay, so consider that group discussion, maybe a bit of a silly game of question time, something like that. If you are a visual learner, okay, mind maps are brilliant for visual learners. Create them to visually organize the information. Start with the main topic in the center and then branch out with your subtopics. The actual process of having to write it out will also help. But here's a tip: when you're writing something out as a mind map and an aerial view, it is not a silent activity. You say it at the same time. And by layering on this multisensory layer, by looking at it, you're seeing it, you're hearing yourself say it, that will help to hook onto that long-term memory. Um, Color coding. If you are a visual learner, using different colors for different topics or different types of information makes your notes more visually appealing, and it's easier for you to navigate. You can go into any kind of color coding. So it might be that you have a folder for every different subject in a different color. You might even want to go into the extent of having the same coloured paper as that same coloured folder, so you know exactly which um, um, lesson that you are studying. Particularly if you've only got 3 or 4, that is really, really helpful. For things like exam questions, using a colour coding system to help you to remember what to write in which order could be really, really helpful. So, for example, um, an um, an English question. It might be you start off with the opening sentence. The middle is going to be your evidence. You're going to analyze it with a different color, and then you zoom into something else, isn't it? So, um, you might have a particular color code. It might be red, yellow, green, blue, and you stick to those different colors in that set order to help you with your answer. When you're looking for the evidence in your text, colour your evidence in your particular colours so that you know exactly which one comes next. So colour coding can be really, really helpful. And flashcards as well. Writing key points on flashcards and using them for a really quick revision. You can also add images or diagrams to make them much more engaging. It's a lot easier for visual learners to extract information from an image or a resource than it is from text. Okay, so use your images on your flashcards as well. So using your flashcards, you might want to create a game. Use, for example, Snakes and Ladders. Every time it's your turn, you pick up one of your revision cards. You have to answer that question correctly to be able to take your turn. Those kind of family games can be really, really helpful. And kinesthetic learners, keyring cards. I had one young man and he was so enthusiastic, but he kept struggling on one particular thing in his maths. And so what we did was we created these keyring cards that helped where he could carry his knowledge in his pocket. And the physical act of flipping the cards can help to reinforce that memory. And every time I walked down the corridor and I saw him waiting to go inside a lesson or to, in the dinner queue, he always had these flashcards, these little keyring cards out, and he was testing himself, or his buddy was testing him. And it can be really helpful to have that kinesthetic layer of revision to hand. And again, using hands-on activities, any kind of models or experiments or practical activities to understand concepts better. So, for example, it might be that you build a model of a cell for biology in modeling clay so that you're able to see and feel all the different aspects of it. So don't dismiss modeling clay. It can be really, really helpful for a revision so that when you make it, you talk about it at the same time. All of these activities are not silent activities. They need to add that layer of that verbal learning as well. And then sorting tasks and games. Creating sorting tasks whereby the right answer needs to be placed in a box and the other answers in another box can be really helpful. Hands-on games, activities, and can be used for revision cards as well. Things like I've just mentioned Snakes and Ladders, or it might be that you want to have a game of Monopoly or something like that. But every time it's your turn, you have to um, answer a question. It could be that you have a game of Jenga and or every single block has a revision question on, and when they pull that out, they have to answer it. So use your imagination and um, think of where you can weave in all of these revision questions as well. So, revision support at home in particular. So, some ideas for fun ways to revise as a family might include things like putting the revision cards and answers all around the house. It might be in the bedrooms, along the staircase. It might be in the toilet, opposite where you sit on the toilet. What it does is encourages them to be read aloud as they walk around the house. It's really good for rote learning. So if once they walk past it, they have to say it out loud. These are really good things for like quotes for Shakespeare or 19th century English literature, that kind of thing. All of these kind of rote learning, if they are surrounded by all of these things. But if not just the learner, the young person who's doing the exams that reads it out, um, they can shout it out to another member of the family. So all of these different things can be really a fun way of encouraging that enthusiasm during exams. Um, revision cards as well, use them for games. I've just said that. You might want to have a game of Snap or something like that. Create a pairs game where you have a question and an answer and everything is turned down and they have to find the question and the correct answer. All of these different games. Or um, little nuggets of information around the kitchen and the bathroom where they spend their most time. Again, encourage them to read the cards out loud. It might be if they're making a cup of tea or where they make a sandwich. It might be during car journeys, to pass the time, creating questions and answer games. They can also be recorded using a voice recorder on their phone. Um, and, if your young person finds it difficult to sit still, help them by creating a treasure hunt or something, or find a game for them with a question and answer from previous exam papers. Maybe they would need to find parts of a written answer and then place it all in the right order once they've found them. So it will help them to identify the sections of a good answer and also the correct order as well. So a PSEC paragraph, for example, you could have different sections of the answers. Um, they have to find the question and the answer and put it all together. So there are lots and lots of ideas. I want you to get your creative juices flowing with this brilliant family dynamic where everybody is involved and encouraging for your young person in the in the home. Sorry. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat this evening. Very sorry. So how can the BDA help then? So our website is our greatest resource. If you need some assistance with reading the information, we have this icon here. And if you click on that, this recite assistance will open up. And with that, you have this ribbon here and you can um, change the page however you need to do. So you can change the background, the fonts, the colors, and so on and so on. But it's really, really helpful if you do need assistance to have a look at all of the information on our website. We do have a helpline. Now, the helpline is the majority of people that operate this are volunteers who are experts in the field. So it might be that they are a dyslexia tutor or an assessor or a specialist in school. Then they have helped to volunteer to help to answer questions for you. If that is the case, give us a call. If you're unable to call, please do email or get in touch via social media. Again, they will be forwarded on to our specialists in the field. So there will always be somebody to help you with your question. Now, we do have some e-learning that is available with the BDA, particularly for parents and carers. So if you were to have a look at our services and then have a look at training, you'll be able to single it out through parents and carers. Let me see if this email website is going to work rather. Yeah, so this is the first one that is available is a free introduction to assistive technology course that I helped to write this year. It's free for everybody, but if you go to the training, then you can have a look for parents and carers, and there's lots of them there that could be specialised for you to help you understand your dyslexic your young person. Now, to help us get involved with our revision campaign, I have joined the virtual Everest expedition, and I wonder if you would like to do the same. So it's explained as from the comfort of your own home, office, or garden, you can support your young dyslexic person by climbing the same amount of steps it would take to get to the top of Everest, because we appreciate that this time in their lives will feel like they are climbing a mountain. And so what we want to do is do it with them. I'm going to be between the 5th of May and the 24th of June, be walking 58,070 steps during that time and hoping for some donations for us. If you would be interested in doing that alongside your young person who will be revising for their exams, please do sign up via the website. If you don't want to do it, please have a look. Oh, thank you for the little love heart. Please have a look for the Just Giving page from me, Amanda Hornby, and if you would like to donate £1, I'd be really, really appreciative. So yeah, let's climb a mountain with our young people and give them that support, and let's have a virtual climb to Everest. And so thank you for those reactions. That was really lovely. I'm going to open it up. We've got about 8 minutes left, Claudia. I wonder if there are any questions that we're able to answer.
I think we're going to give people a little bit of a chance to send in their questions, but we do have a couple. So the first one is, my son doesn't really have any anger or anxiety or depression, which this parent supposedly is really lucky, but he seems to get really overwhelmed, so then ends up not doing any of his work or doesn't complete things or doesn't revise. So he just shuts down and she's not quite sure what to do.
Small chunks. Definitely have a really good plan and sit with him and make that plan, so that he knows what to expect. Tie the small chunks so that he feels that he's actually making an achievement at the end of each day or at the end of each week. Remember, if he's doing something like a wall planner, and he can see his achievements, to cross off his achievements, what he has been able to do. Or it might be that he crosses something out on a book or a diary to say, yes, I've done that. By um, chunking it up into tiny small pieces, he's less, that overloading is going to be reduced, because at the moment he just feels like he's got to do everything all at the same time. And what we want to do is to be able to level it out so that he doesn't feel that overloading. Hopefully, by if you do that with him and he sits with you and you do it together, he'll be able to overcome that and be able to attack these very small tasks instead.
Perfect. Thanks, Amanda. The next question we have is, dyslexia can be a comorbid with other difficulties. How can we support a young person with dyslexia, ASD, and demand avoidance?
Okay. Demand avoidance. That's a real tricky one. It's almost like you've got to say the question backwards, isn't it? It's almost like you have to give them that choice. If you need to give them a choice, give them two really good choices so that they will always have something to achieve. It does co-occur quite often. And so yeah, they've got a huge amount to deal with. Rather than make demands, give them a choice, but then, are we going to revise French or are we going to revise maths? Which one is it going to be? And hopefully, by giving them those two choices that are equal in value, then they'll be able to at least, achieve some of their revision.
Perfect. Thank you. Any ideas on what to do for a young person that doesn't ask for help and often refuses help?
Okay, so if they're refusing help, um, we need to check the reasons why. I suppose it might be that they feel that they've already got it, or they feel that they haven't got it and they're feeling a little bit intimidated and they don't want to ask for help in case what they're asking for help for is the wrong thing. So I guess with that, you probably need to sit down with them and just have a good chat with them if that is possible. I know sometimes they don't always open up. Um, Ask me that one again, Claudia. I've forgotten the first bit.
Yeah, I think you've kind of answered it. Any ideas on what to do for a young person that doesn't ask for help and refuses help?
And refuses help. Um, it's a real tricky one because sometimes they are just closed down, aren't they? I suppose, start the conversation with something that they are interested in. Maybe go for a walk, kick a ball, or something like that, just to open up a conversation. Particularly if it's a relaxed atmosphere, then they're more likely to open up, and explain to them what they really do feel that is tricky. Um, I wish you all the best with that one. It is a tricky one, that one, isn't it?
it is. It definitely is a tricky one. That's why I thought I'd ask it. Um, I'm going to give people just a couple more minutes to ask any other questions they might have. I know that there's a lot of information that we've just thrown at you, so you might not have a question just yet. But like Amanda said, we do have our helpline. So if any questions you do have any questions that you remember after the webinar, emailing or calling our helpline would probably be best. Doesn't seem like we've got any others coming in. So thank you so much for that, Amanda. It was
Okay, no
we
worries.
hope everybody found that very useful, or the session was useful. As I mentioned before, we'll be sending out the recording and the slides and some free resources via email in the next couple of days. We'll be adding more free webinars that may interest you over the coming months. So just keep an eye on our events page on our website, or it will be on our newsletter. We do have other webinars that can be found on our YouTube channel. So do take a look. There's lots of useful information in those. And yeah, just thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for all the reactions, the emoji reactions, lots of love hearts. It's always lovely to see. And we hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Okay, thanks, Claudia. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Take
Amanda.
care. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.